Hello, creative fam. I am excited to share this project with you guys. So I found this gorgeous crystal wall sconce on Wayfair, and they're all sold out, and their original price was over $400. So I thought this would be really, really pretty as a wall light, kind of like a little chandelier, or maybe even just beautiful wall decor if you wanted to make a couple of these. So I tried to recreate something similar using daughtry materials, and this is how I did it. For this project, I wanted to recreate this light as close to the Wayfair design as possible. So I'll be using a wire wreath from Daughtry, and I'll link below a video sharing more details cutting a wreath wire in another DIY video if you want to check it out. So I cut the rings with what's called side cutter pliers, and for the structure I used the second and third ring, and that's obviously from either side. Later I will be using the large outside ring, and I don't use the small ring at all. So I cut the wire in longer lengths than I'll need for the sake of having too much and not enough. I only use 7 wires for this light, so I have some extra just in case I need them. So to get the cone shape, I need to straighten one end and curl the other end just a little bit. The shape of the handles from the punch bowl spoons or the ladles from Dollar Tree, I thought was a great shape for this. So I zip tied the wires down to the handles, which it didn't really work like I'd hoped. So after I snipped the zip ties off, then I ended up bending the wires and shaping the wires with my hands. So once I had all of my wires shaped and ready to go, I take them outside and spray paint them silver. Next, I'll be using a napkin ring holder that I have on hand, and this is from Dollar Tree. And I just cut the napkin ring in half with my hot knife, and I'm only going to be using one of the halves. Now I take my wires and one by one I glue the straightest end inside of the napkin ring with hot glue, and I work my way around. And I glued 3 wires on each side and one in the very center in the middle, which gives me a total of 7. And I have to hold each of these for like several seconds until the hot glue dries and kind of grabs it before going on to my next wire. Next, I hold the large ring on the top of the structure so I can just get a good idea on the size I need to make this fit. Then I overcut the wire because, again, it's better to have too much than not enough. So after I trim my top wire, I use masking tape on the ends with the top down so I can work on it. Once I know that this is secure really, really well, then I use hot glue on one end for that instant hold, and then I start using a strong, clear adhesive glue to bond the tips to the top wire. Now I'm using a generous amount of glue, and once I've worked my way around, I go back to the end piece that I had glued with hot glue, and I go ahead with some clear glue on that piece as well. Then I use masking tape to tape down this top wire with a lot of pressure. And I'm doing this on a foam board, and although I'm piling it pretty heavy, I'm pretty sure that some of it has a good chance of running off of this and getting on the surface where I'm working. So you want to keep that in mind and do like I'm doing with a foam board, or something like wax paper, so you don't destroy like a desk or something that you might be working on. And also, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing this on, you'll be able to remove this if any of the glue does run off of the wire and onto the surface. So I did this actually one morning before work. And so it actually sat for like 3 days, but overnight would be fine. You do want to let this sit and cure really well. So I removed all of the masking tape, and I knew right away that this was actually going to work so, so great. I was super excited when I felt how strong and firm this is. Now, if you do this, you do want to be sure to use a strong permanent glue. In one area where the glue did drip or drain down the wire, I pulled the paper up from the foam, which really wasn't enough to even bother me, but you could peel the paper off. Next, I cut or trim the lengths of all of my wires so I get the exact shape of what I was wanting. I didn't have quite enough of the glass gems from Dollar Tree, and I'll show you those in just a moment, to completely cover this fixture with the Dollar Tree gems. So I used some that I had on hand from Hobby Lobby, and this is just on the bottom part, and it came off of a strand of garland. And Hobby Lobby, they always have a sale or coupons, so I think I paid like $5 for this. I also have two strands of these small clear beads that I'd gotten on sale there, which I think they really do look more like the Wayfair design, but I didn't have enough of these either. So I cut a few gems off of the garland in three different sizes. And then I use this thin wire from the hardware section of Dollar Tree to thread the gems or beads. Now I had to kind of, thread these in like a Z pattern or a zigzag. I could, build up on the gems because these hang long ways. And I just had to play around with it to get the wire in the back and not show in the front, as little as possible. And I ended up threading three small gems, then three medium gems, and then, of course, the larger gems are at the top. And I repeated this 6 times to fill in the 6 gaps between the wires. I also used a piece of wire to wipe or transfer some of the clear glue on each side of the gem so they don't slide off of that zigzag pattern. Next, I wrap the stranded wire around in a little above midway where the curve starts between the spokes, and I let them hang just for now as I work my way across. Then I adjust and secure each strand in place at the bottom, which didn't take much, just a little bit of glue. Once I filled each of the gaps and the curves, this this is where I'm going to start changing to the glass gems, but first I use acrylic gems, and this is to help me make that transition and to help also kind of disguise that wire. So I glue one gem on each row going all the way across, and this is, like I said, just to really help make that transition and cover the wire. So once I have that finished, I'm ready for my favorite part, the glass gems. And I love these so much. I plan on buying all I can find next time I go to Dollar Tree. I love these. Oh my goodness. These feel so different. They shine. They're so pretty. And these are not even comparable to acrylic gems, if you ask me. Now, I got these off of the little small bracelets that you can find near the checkout lane at Dollar Tree. The string that's holding these together is just a thin rubber band with a knot. So I just cut where the knot is and the beads all fall off. Now, these bracelets have some small beads as spacers between each of the large gems, but they're not clear. So I really had no interest in using them for this. I threaded 5 gems on each strand, and I gave myself plenty of extra wire on each end so I would have a little playroom. Be sure when you use this, you create a bend on each side as well. So after you strand them, you don't have to worry about them like sliding off or falling off while you're trying to work on this. Now take each strand and hook the center wire behind the acrylic gem and bring the wire up and wrap it around the top. That's all you have to do. And then you just twist the ends together like a bread tie, cut off the excess wire, and that's all there is to it. So, because the gaps get wider in the center, I used one strand and on the ends, one or two strands on the ends, and then the wider the gaps got, I used 3 strands to really, fill it out and make it look full. I actually had a lot more glass gems left over than I thought that I would. So I was going to use those on the top, but I didn't really want to apply any glue on these glass gems. That's just the personal preference. So then I turned to my acrylic gems and I glued those side by side with hot glue and clear adhesive. And I just glued those in a row going all the way across. And then there was like a little gap, of course, where you're filling those in. So then I used just a regular gem to, kind of make that blend. And then I also wanted to cover the napkin ring with some type of bling. For that, I used some adhesive bling from Dollar General. This was $1, and I just cut to fit and just stuck that on there really quick. That was pretty easy to do. Finally, I cut more of the wire off and I wrap it around the back of the fixture and twist it together in the center so I can hang it on a bracket, a hook, or a nail. And then I'll slip a little battery operated light, the fairy lights behind it. But if you already have a wall light, you could totally remove your current wall fixture and mount this one in its place. Or if you have a plug-in outlet on your wall, you could use that. Um, you could use that and plug in some Christmas lights, or you could use like a lamp kit and add lights behind this. But this is just so beautiful. It's just a beautiful piece of wall decor without lights. So it's totally your choice. And now you can enjoy this decor piece because this project is finished.